Hey guys, my name is Robert Joseph Strada, and today I'm going to show you 13 new perspectives on why you're feeling fear. Number one, call it the elephant in the room, by the way. I got hurt, so I got a stabilizer, 2 torn rotator cuffs, 2 torn meniscuses. I have stem cell, but we're still going to make the videos. That's also why I got a cane. All right, why you should listen to me? I've done a lot of fearful things in my life, as everybody has, as you. I've tried Navy SEAL training, for example. That takes a lot of fear to go in when I was 300 pounds and to give that a shot. I've moved to another state. I borrowed $500 from my mom for a flight when I was a kid, broke, and I flew to another state for a job interview with Cardone. When I was doing like the Navy SEAL training stuff too, I couldn't even swim. I had to learn how to swim. I'm terrified of water. I'm terrified of chlorine even. I started a business in Oklahoma on a credit card like an idiot, and then business went bust. But it's like, these are risks that we all take, and I'm gonna do it again, by the way. So I just continuously take all these risks, and I think that's very important to get new perspectives. I would watch a video like this. I read tons of books. I didn't even recommend books throughout the video. So you gotta get new perspectives, continuously move, because you're gonna fear this fear until the day you die. So I'm gonna jump right in. Number one, overcoming fear is the greatest feeling in the world, and dodging fear is the worst feeling in the world. I think of things in very binary terms. Whenever I overcome fear, I feel good. Whenever I dodge it, I feel bad. I want you to think about, and by the way, I use 3 analogies with almost everything I do, all right? I like sales, I like business, I like fighting, and I like women. It's pretty much like those 3 things. I like money, I like women, I like fighting. Those are the main analogies I use. And also I like communication, which goes into sales. So I want you to imagine that you have a woman that you didn't approach. She was the version of your wife that you wanted. She was the person you wanted to have your kids. And you were gonna approach her, but you didn't. You probably still remember that girl to this day, because that is a horrible, horrible, horrible feeling. You know what's even worse is when you want to start a business and you don't out of fear. That's the worst feeling in the world. When you have a sale and you don't ask for it again, you feel like wimp. You feel like you're unconfident. Some of the weird worries that are in my head that might be in your head that doesn't make this binary is like, if I go and I do something that caused me a lot of fear, there could be a lot of repercussion. For example, burnout. Let's say that you are going to do sales calls and you take 10 calls a day, 10 1-hour Zoom calls that make you feel extremely tired and make you feel like really bad. All right, you think like, oh my God, I'm gonna burn out. Is it a possibility? Potentially. But I'm not saying you should overload yourself. I'm saying that every time you face a fear, you get better, okay? You have an opportunity to feel good. For sales, if we're using that example, when I'm doing it over and over again, I get so good so fast through like just getting reps in that eventually I enter a flow state and I feel great. It's like a weird thought that's in my mind during doing this is like, wait, if I can't just not feel bad every time, right? Sometimes when I do something that I'm extremely afraid of, sometimes I'll feel terrible. And really, that's just a lack of repetitions, and that's a lack of positive self-talk. If I do something that's extremely scary, I'm gonna say, hell yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. You did the thing. You redefine a goal. The goal is not the outcome. The goal, and you achieving something, training to feel good by taking an action. All right, we'll go more into that later. But number 2, moving on. In order to get the highs, you gotta get the lows. There has to be some element of risk involved. Think about anything that you love in life, okay? That's truly meaningful to you. If it's developing a really strong relationship with your woman, all right, the woman of your dreams, a wife, a spouse, right? I'm talking about that from a very mature place. You know what you gotta do? It's gonna take a little bit of risk. You're gonna have to risk being vulnerable, having empathy, connecting, telling a joke that you don't know if she'll laugh at. Every time there's a risk in some way, shape, or form, there is going to be a high and there's going to be a low. Again, I'm trying to break in like a simple equation. If I'm going to approach a woman, there's a risk that I get a rejection, and then there's a feeling or potential opportunity that I get the woman of my dreams. And you know what? It feels really good no matter what. It feels good to get the number, and it feels terrible to not get it. If I'm in a debate, right? Let's say I'm debating a topic. Let's say that I'm debating something. I'm debating a topic with an individual. All right? I feel really good when I'm in a flow state and I have all my topics secured and mastered, and I have a really good conversation. The first few times I debate with somebody, especially if it's a topic that I haven't discussed heavily or haven't explored heavily enough myself, I'm gonna feel really bad. There's gonna be a big low in that. But if I'm debating somebody and I have multiple stories that I have told and that I know, and I have multiple points that I've gone from beginning to end fully, and I understand that's a point that I can bring up in the conversation. That's a point. And I've already discussed it with other individuals, and I've discussed it with myself to finalize the point, I'm gonna feel much more comfortable and get a high from debating. If you think about anything that doesn't have risk, all right? It's not gonna have as high of a high. I want you to think about hedonism in general, everything. It doesn't matter if it is gambling, if it is if it is video games, if it is food, if it's anything that doesn't take an element of risk, you're gonna feel low. I feel low after every single thing that I don't have to try hard for. Again, kind of a simple recipe that just took a lot of thinking to try to explain this. So number 4, tasting all the colors of the rainbow. I'm gonna try to go into things that maybe you haven't heard of, maybe you haven't thought of, give you a new perspective. I heard this actually from Ed Milet. Ed Milet was talking about feeling fear, and he's like, I want to feel fear. I get one life, I wanna feel every single emotion to the max, the maximum that my body is physically capable of. I wanna feel love, I wanna feel passion, I wanna feel all the good emotions, joy to 100%. In order to do that, it is a direct quotient. I need to feel fear to the max. I need to feel betrayal. I need to feel anger. It's not something that necessarily you want, but I'm actually making the argument that you should want it because it's a direct equal quotient of the amount of happiness I'm going to feel is a direct quotient of the amount of risk I take, the amount of anger that I'm gonna feel. I understand you can feel stoic and all this other crap you're gonna tell yourself. You gotta feel all those negative emotions. It's kind of unavoidable. Why would you not? I understand you think of these as like negative emotions, but at the end of the day, there's a quote, a stoic quote. I don't know if it's from Seneca, but it says that a truly big evil is if you go your whole life and do not know what your full body is capable of. I wanna know what my full body is capable of. I wanna know what my full mind is capable of. This is a stoic quote. I apologize, I'm paraphrasing. What I'm saying is that before I die, I want to know 100% what I'm capable of physically. That's why I got the stem cell. I want to know what everything feels like. I want to know what love feels like. I want to know what fear feels like. I want to know what anger feels like. I understand if you want to be a smart ass and say, hey, oh, I felt all these emotions. Okay, great. Welcome to being a human. I'm saying that you want to feel them to the max, not in a bad way. If you're a World War II veteran who got shell shocked, I guarantee he's felt a type of fear that's a bit too far. But that's what I'm saying is I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, it's not so bad that you're gonna burn out. I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, the fear of you starting a business, moving to a new town, it's not gonna lead to, this is gonna lead to the best careers that have fear involved in it, okay? That's called being a leader. Being a leader is pretty, it scares the crap out of you. And if it doesn't, it should. It scares the crap out of me every single day. Anytime I need to lead, I feel a little bit of fear. I could be stoic, I could put on a face, but there's an element of anxiety involved. I'm never gonna get rid of that. That's the reason I'm making a video. This is something you're never gonna get rid of. So you need to continuously find new ways to compartmentalize and learn about fear. When you learn about something, it becomes less scary. That's another direct binary quotient. The more I learn about something, the less scared of it I become. And also, obviously, the more action I take into something, you know, the less I'm gonna feel. So the more fear you feel, the less fear you feel. It's very simple. So I'm gonna be, I could be a sales manager. There's a lot of fear, okay? If you don't get sales in the company, do you know who's the first person to get their head chopped off? It's gonna be a sales manager. You know, I'm gonna start my own business and make a lot of money. There's gonna be a lot of fear involved, a lot of risk, okay? But it's gonna be the best career. Why? Because I'm a business owner who's making however much amount of money I wanna make in a capitalistic society that I want. Number 6, it is the best memories involve fear. Think about, it's so funny too, the worst memories that I have in the entire world are my favorite memories. Painful memories, breakup, love. Whenever I think about really hard workouts where it was like 5 in the morning, doing runs, Ironmans, triathlons, marathons, ultra marathons, swimming for like 20 miles straight, trying to do these great feats of human endurance that make me feel horrible. I literally will physically vomit. All my dopamine is drained because I can't feel anything because I'm pushing so hard on no sleep. You name the negative experience, I'm gonna tell you that the more negative it is, for some reason, those are the best memories in the entire world. If I talk to guys that have been to buds, it's like, dude, the best memories is becoming a sugar cookie. It's surf torture. Those are like the best memories for guys that have gone to buds. They got much more further than me, by the way. I'm not trying to do some stolen valor thing here and bring up that every 2 seconds. I just have a lot of analogies related to the Navy. You gotta understand the good amount of my learning life experience. I'm gonna make it extra clear. I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm just saying that I tried out for that. That's all I'm saying. No stolen valor. On top of that, think about beautiful memories that like had a lot of fear. Marriage. Marrying someone is very, very fearful. Fun fact about myself, I got married when I was 20, okay? Had a lot of fear. Great experience. It was a great experience. Got divorced within a year. Okay, it happens. I was in the military when it happened too. Everybody in the military does that. Moving to new states on no money, sleeping on the floor, eating McDonald's every single day because I had no money. It wasn't even McDonald's. I was eating like bread ketchup sandwiches where you put ketchup in bread, and I microwaved it, and my face was covered in acne because my diet was literally ketchup on bread and microwaving it. And ramen noodle soups are the best. Why are those my most favorite memories? Because there was risk involved, because I felt a lot of fear, and because I was going for what I wanted in life. And it doesn't matter about those negative feelings. Going for what I want in life, regardless of how negative it feels in the moment, is going to make me feel better in the long run. Even if it's a memory, or even if I actually get the end result, okay? It's like a win-win-win. It's just kind of a loss in the moment, a potential loss in the moment, because you feel negative. Hope I'm not overcomplicating this. There's a reason I'm trying to go on a tangent. Number 7, it's understanding it's evolutionary and it's social conditioning. It's biological. You gotta feel fear. The same fear that was felt thousands of years ago when someone got chased by a saber-toothed tiger is the exact same fear that you're gonna feel when you're in your nice cozy home and you're gonna make a sales call, a cold call, right? And you have your nice coffee in front of you, you're in an air-conditioned environment, you got your feet up, you feel that same visceral fear from calling somebody. All you do is this, you're picking up a phone. This is the action that my hand is taking, putting it to my face. I feel the same emotion, the same chemical process that someone felt getting chased by a tiger. Isn't that insane, right? And it's knowing that and reminding yourself of that every day and having more examples of exactly what I just said that allow you to consciously push past it. Number 8 is understanding that it is just energy. It is just energy. This fear could be any emotion you want. Cannot have a vacuum. That's impossible. Energy must go somewhere. Energy can be excitement. I could be excited. Let's freaking go, dude. If I'm gonna go skydiving, I could be fearful or I could be excited. I can choose. You want to be stoic, I understand that, and you could try, and that's the goal, but at the end of the day, it is an energy, it must be transmuted into something. Okay, you could be excited or fearful. Think about a dog. If a dog sees you and it hasn't seen you all day, it gets so excited that it pisses itself. You ever had a dog that was so excited and it goes and it hugs you, and it starts everywhere? It's because it's excited. That same emotion, that same feeling could be fear. The dog's gonna piss itself if it gets afraid. If somebody has very bad news coming to them, they could either get very sad and they could do nothing and they could cry and they could shut down for a month if they get broken up with or their business becomes bankrupt, or they could transmute that into anger. Yep, anger. I don't mean to preach this, but I'm going to preach it. Anger is a fantastic force. It's amazing and the life of your dreams. And if I'm going to transmute to anger, I'm going to be like, screw this, I'm going to get better. Or I could transmute to sadness and I could cry my heart out. Fear could be transmuted into anything you want. It's energy, and you need to be happy that you have that. It means that you are alive. It means that you're breathing, dude. That's another perspective. You're alive. Thank God for giving me the ability to feel fear, okay? Number 9, it is the signals to do the thing. I have seen guys that will run into danger, and it almost feels like they actually don't feel fear. And what's funny, there's a pit in their stomach that physically changes when it's time to do something fearful. They physically move into the object. I always think about a guy that sees a girl and he just approaches her. I want you to think about a guy who is going to make a sales call, and as soon as he knows he needs to make that call, picks up the phone. He's already dialing them. You're like, wait, let me give you some context about the guy who I need to follow up with. He's like, I don't care. I'm already dialing, right? Give me the context while the phone is ringing until he hangs up. They have this process of moving into fear because they see it as a signal to do the right thing. If I'm afraid of something, I know I'm gonna grow from it. I just know it every single time. If I'm not afraid from it, I can't grow from it. So simple. And number 10, the end result is truly 10 times greater than any pain that you had to endure or any temporary pleasure that you were going to do instead if you're going to distract yourself from activity. There's actually a biblical quote. I'm going to bring God into it for a little bit. Joel chapter 2, verse 25. I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm still biblically versing myself. But there's a quote in the Bible that says, for what you suffer, I will give you 7 times the reward. It's saying that any pain that you feel, any loss that you have, any loss of time, money, energy through going for something, I'm going to pay you back 7 times the amount. So I think about that. I know that any pain that I put myself through, pain from a fearful activity, I personally believe that I'm going to experience 7 times the amount from the pain that I got. When I have that belief, I want to put myself in more pain, more fear pain, because I know that God's going to give me 7 times a greater reward. And again, this is something that maybe we know, right? But I need you to understand that it is so much greater than any form of pain you have to withstand or any pleasure. When you try to visualize like your goal, you're like, wow, it's so great. And people are like, I'm just not motivated because like I can't motivate myself. When I visualize what I want, this is a big problem I have too. When I visualize something and I try to visualize it, I just can't force myself into action because the visualization doesn't give me enough energy. Whatever visualization you were able to conjure, I want you to know that the result is going to be 10 times better than whatever that visualization was. I'm serious, and you got to remember that. That's something that's important. I almost want to say that like a third time in a row. Whatever visualization or goal you have in your head, whatever positive emotions it evokes in you, the actual result of you going through that pain and not taking a temporary pleasure of a break, of an Instagram rolling, of YouTube, of taking a nap, of taking an extra coffee break. Your goal is going to be 10 times, 7 times greater. If we're doing Joel, 7 times greater than any pain you had to withstand. That's something I try to remember a lot. Number 11 is that your true problem is not enough reference experience. There's a great quote about this by Alex Hormozi. It's that if I had done this, whatever I'm doing right now, 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, would I feel the same fear? No. So I'm gonna put myself in that situation. I'm gonna put myself in that mental frame. If I have done the activity 1,000 times, 10,000 times, it is literally almost impossible. Actually, I'm sorry. It is 100% possible to feel the same quantity of fear. Not 100% possible that I'm gonna feel no fear, but it's 100% most likely that I'm going to feel much, much, much less fear and much, much more confidence. So get more reference experiences and do it faster. You got to shove them into a small quantity of time so that way you have all those reference experiences back to back to back, and then you're able to diagnose them, think back, and then you can truly like have them in your head. So whenever you enter a new situation, you're like, dude, I didn't die from the last time I did. Number 12, it's a measuring stick. Again, very binary. And something that gives me, if I were to put it on a scale, something that gives me an 8 out of 10 on the fear scale is going to be an 8 out of 10 on the growth and payout scale. It is a very simplistic equation. It's so simple. If something is going to make me feel a 7 out of 10 fear, I'm gonna get a 7 out of 10 growth. It's just so simplistic, and I remember that over and over and over again. And that can move me into action. When I feel fear, it's a signal to do the thing. Me remembering this is a signal to move into fear and move into action, all right? Number 13, when you have no other choice, you will succeed. I want to give you multiple stories in this one. This is the last point. I'm going to stick on it for a little bit long. When Chris Gardner, right? There's a movie called Pursuit of Happiness. He was homeless. It's based on a true story. He had a son he had to take care of, feed, change the diapers of, while they were both homeless, while he was doing an internship. Now, I would make the argument, and I guarantee you Chris Gardner would agree with me, that if Chris Gardner, his wife had stuck with him, he had a good stable job, and he had all the financial means taken care of. His son was getting the food, his son was getting water, he didn't have to be extra stressed out. I would make the argument Chris Gardner would not have been successful, or he would definitely not have been as successful as he was. And I'm not talking about how the story made him very famous and they made a movie out of him. I'm talking about successful in just stocks alone, just the stock market. If you're gonna try out, become a Navy SEAL, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger has saying about this too. You can have no plan B. When being strong is the only choice you have, you will then find out how strong you are. That's why I loved and wanted to do that so bad. I wanted to put myself in a situation where I had to be strong. There was no other choice. Everything that made me feel afraid, I had to confront. I didn't even know how to swim when I did that. Cardone, it's the exact same thing. When I worked for Grant Cardone, I remember I flew out for a job interview. I got $500 from my mom, and I flew out for a job interview with 30 other people, and only me and I think 2 other people got the job, and me and only 1 other guy ended up sticking around for over 6 months or 3 months. The other guy I think was gone within like a month. The average tenure of that company, the average tenure is like 2 weeks. Guys, it's like the Boiler Room or the Wolf of Wall Street. They just blow out. And while this was happening, I was doing more work than everybody. I was dominating everybody. I'm not a great closer. Anybody that's from Cardone Ventures, there's amazing closers there, much more skilled than me. I was working harder than everybody in that company, and I think everybody would agree. It's not, maybe some people want to say it's better to work smarter, not harder. I try to do both. I was outworking everybody, doing double or triple the amount of dials, double or triple the amount of Zoom calls, double or triple the amount of studying, and I was doing amazing on a bad diet when I was eating ketchup sandwiches and microwaving them and ramen noodle soup, and I was sleeping on a floor. I was actually homeless for a small quantity of time. Before, I convinced one of the coworkers, I kind of forced him. I forced him to allow me to sleep on his floor. Now he's my best friend. He's like my brother. But we had a very uncomfortable conversation where I might not have done that if I wasn't literally homeless. I was homeless and I forced somebody to allow me to sleep on their floor. So I didn't have to sleep at a bus stop. And regardless of sleeping at that bus stop, I still came in earlier than everybody else, like Chris Gardner, and I made more dials than everybody else and made more Zoom calls than everybody else. You could argue, though, there's people, I was, I think, one of very few people that were from out of state. Many of those people they hired were from Arizona. They were actually from Scottsdale. They literally were raised their entire life right around the corner. I was living in Connecticut. They flew out there. You could argue that those people would do better. There was a couple people there that are young men, you know, right, 20 years old, 19 years old, and they live with their moms. They had a home-cooked meal, and they had everything, but they didn't perform as great. They didn't take as many calls. They weren't as sharp. Why? It's like they had everything. They were making more, you know, they had so many more resources. Why was I doing better than everybody on a bad diet and bad sleep? And I, you know, like everything's bad. Like, you know, I had acne because I'm getting stressed out, but I'm doing better than everybody else. Why? It's because it was the only choice I had. Whenever I do something where I have no choice but to succeed, I basically always succeed. And if I don't, I learn 10 times more than something that did not involve that level of risk and fear. All right, another movie you could bring up, The Dark Knight. You watch The Dark Knight Rises when Bane breaks Batman's back. What happens in the prison? Spoiler alert, by the way. I'm not gonna care about spoiling Chris Gardner. You should know about that. Dark Knight breaks his back, throws him in a prison. Doesn't want to kill him because he wants him to feel more fear. Batman climbs up this wall and he has a harness on him. He needs to jump over this gap onto another part of a platform in order to escape. The same way that Bane did when he was a kid. Now, he did it over and over and over again. He couldn't make this jump until finally somebody said, you need to take the harness off. You may hear that, and maybe a lot of you watched that movie and you thought, well, that's retarded. Why would I do that? Okay, there's actually not only a kernel of truth in that, but a lot of truth. Guarantee you that Batman pushed his feet off of that piece of cement much harder, which allowed him to escape when there was no harness. That's a metaphor for life. There's no harness. You gotta take the harness off. You gotta take off the safety net. If you live with your mom, you gotta move to another state. You gotta go in the military. Do something. Take away the safety net. Whenever you take away the safety net, you're gonna be successful. Guys, listen. This is all I got. I'm in a lot of pain. Maybe it looks like I am not because of how much I'm moving, but it's because I'm in a flow state. Please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll respond to any comments you guys have. Let me know if there's something you disagree with. Let me know if there's another video I should make. I want to help people out. I want to be a leader of leaders. I want to help people. This is a measuring stick, not ego. This is a measuring stick. Am I being a good leader? Help me out. Thank you guys so much.